My dream in football starts anew every season. Every season there are new challenges and new things to improve. A footballer's career is short. It doesn't last a very long time. And every campaign there are new challenges. And these are the ones that I want to achieve.
On July the 11th, 2010, at Soccer City Stadium, Johannesburg, Andrés Iniesta reached the very pinnacle of the footballing world.
Iniesta! Spain have won the World Cup!
As a player, he has won everything. The fact that the goal which captured the biggest trophy of them all is merely one chapter underlines the greatness of his career. Born in a small village in the province of Albacete, southern Spain, Andrés Iniesta's prowess with the football ensured he always stood out. Albacete is no footballing hotbed, but it was not long before La Liga's giants took an interest in the area. FC Barcelona and their famous youth academy of La Masia were the first to act.
In Spain exists a great tournament that is played in June, still is played now, every year. And Andrés Iniesta played for Albacete, and he got the best player of the tournament. And this is another case of that Barcelona scout him, decided he's a great player.
When Iniesta arrived at Barcelona, it was not usual that somebody so far away from the Catalonia area that actually was brought into La Masia to stay there. It was more or less at the same time as Messi from Argentina. All this is new ground in the case of Messi, new ground for Iniesta. So Barcelona, I'm not sure that we're actually prepared in the way that they are now to look after those kids.
Well, I remember it was an important moment, a tough moment. It was hard leaving my family behind. I was far away. It was a new place. It was a place that I didn't know. But with everybody's help, my teachers, coaches, teammates, I've been able to keep growing and continue improving in football.
It was a difficult process because especially the first 6 months, it was difficult. It was difficult, and it was even discussion, not argue, but discussion even in between his parents and in between us and the parents if finally it was the right thing to do to bring him that young. And this is the reality. This is the reality of what happened.
But life in the renowned academy at La Masia improved, and the young Iniesta settled down to become an integral part of the Barcelona youth setup.
When I was a young player in La Masia, that at the same time they are going to school, he got great marks and was meant to be a great student. And in the football side, he always has shown great maturity, always.
The effort that I made to leave my family behind was all worth it, and also the effort my family made to be separated from me.
Iniesta rose rapidly through the ranks and was part of a youth team already accustomed to winning silverware. In 2002, he made his first team debut under Louis van Gaal against FC Bruges in the Champions League. It was the start of a long journey he would make with several of his La Masia contemporaries.
I think he's an example of what is a Masia player because technically is unbelievable, and as a person is really easy, and this is a good example of what Masia give us to all the players that we were there.
Playing alongside him is very easy, and with Leo, Busquets and Cesc. I'm a passer, and if I have teammates around me who make my job easier, all the better, and Andrés is one of them.
In 2003, former Barcelona and Holland midfielder Frank Rijkaard took over as first-team coach. 2 years later, Iniesta helped Barca win the Spanish League, their first trophy in 6 years.
Rijkaard was interesting because he made it into the first team, but he was a super sub almost. He was a substitute, somebody that would replace Xavi when Xavi was not well. And for 5 months in the Rijkaard era, 5 months he had a knee injury, and Iniesta played a little bit more. But certainly he was not a regular.
Versatile yet quiet, Iniesta's contribution was arguably overlooked. Barcelona won a second consecutive league title in 2006 and reached the final of the UEFA Champions League. Iniesta was named as a substitute in Paris, but came on to make an impact in the second half, as Barca beat Arsenal 2-1, to win only their second European Cup.
It must have been disappointing for him not to play in the Champions League final, but it was a fantastic time to be a football player at Barcelona. The talent of the side was immense, and of course Rijkaard. He thought that in that particular final he needed tall midfielders, strong people to stop the midfield of Arsenal, and Iniesta didn't fit that mould.
It was a familiar argument that the diminutive build of Iniesta and others like him was not the right fit for the modern game. But Iniesta and his compatriots were changing the system.
One thing that Barcelona has given football is the reminder that you don't need to be 6 foot whatever to become a midfielder. Luis Aragonés looked at what Spain had and he's like, what are we good at? Well, at keeping the ball. And obviously Iniesta has taken advantage of that, but I insist if it wasn't for the individual quality and understanding and intelligence of the player, nothing matters. You could be physically small but not be as good as Iniesta.
International recognition came in 2006. Iniesta made his debut against Russia on the eve of that year's World Cup in Germany. But Spain made little impression on the competition and were knocked out in the second round. A year later, Iniesta claimed his first international goal against England. Barcelona, meanwhile, were in the midst of a barren spell, and Frank Rijkaard paid the price. His replacement was ideal for Iniesta, the former Barca stalwart Pep Guardiola, a key member of Johan Cruyff's 1992 dream team, and well versed in the club's philosophy.
Does the world see you the way you see yourself? Well, I asked and I found out. And now I'm going to fix it on Love, Lust, or Run. Girl, what is going on? There is so much to look at. Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Savannah.
I know.
Aw, people call me Savvy, though. You can call me Savvy.
Yes, there's a lot of savvy to you. I see that you are a huge tie-dye fan.
Big tie-dye fan.
Okay, do you listen to the Grateful Dead?
My mom did. My parents met at a Grateful Dead concert.
Why does this not surprise me?
I'm Savannah. I'm 24. I live in Pennsylvania, and I'm an aerialist. My style is cosmic gypsy, big cluster of awesome. I have dozens of statement pieces, all different kinds of things. You just put them all together and it creates this incredible look that just really speaks volumes. Cosmic kimono. Barbie and a disco ball had a baby. This is electro fur. It takes things to a whole new level. I started dressing like this when I was probably in middle school or high school. I never fit in. And I was bullied pretty intensely.
She went through some rough times in middle school, especially high school. That's really when she started overdoing it with her clothing, I think, to stand out. I think if Savannah toned down her look, it would give people a chance just to see her for who she is rather than the image she's trying to project.
Yes, I'm a performer and I love it, but I'm also a person and I'd love to be able to walk around without needing to put on such a show all the time.
There's a lot going on here. So tell me everything about you.
I'm having lots of fun. I'm a model, I'm a performer, I'm, in the circus.
Like really in the circus?
Yeah, I'm an aerialist and all kinds of things. And my personality really shines through in my clothes. But I think that that's people's only impression of me, that I am not really a normal person.
Have you always dressed this way?
I started dressing this way when I was in junior high or high school. I was always bullied pretty heavily and couldn't escape it. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna stick out, I might as well own it. And I started dressing really crazy so that I was controlling what you were talking about because I was so over the top that that was the first thing you noticed.
Right. If people were gonna criticize you, it couldn't affect you inside because they were just criticizing what you were allowing them to criticize.
Exactly.
Now, I'm assuming that bullying didn't last past what, high school?
No, after high school, I went to a very small women's college, and now I was the cool kid because they saw all this as not a cover-up, but just as who I am.
So why do you want to change it now?
Well, I have a professional degree in psychology, and I want to be able to help people one-on-one in a setting that isn't just a whole show.
Right. In a more therapeutic setting, you can't be the center of attention.
Right.
So you know why you're here. You know what you need from this. Let's start by taking a look at just what random people on the street had to say when they saw this, right?
Okay.
What kind of message they got.
Okay.
Come with me. After you. You make a lot of noise. You jingle. All right, so we went out into the street and we took your look with us and we randomly showed people and we asked them whether they loved the look, lusted after the look, or you. And this is the look that we showed to people. Let's hear what they had to say.
Oh, God.
Well, it looks a little all over the place.
She kind of reminds me of somebody who tells fortunes.
If you said she worked in a circus, it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't think she'd get taken seriously in any professional environment by anyone really over the age of 12.
I think she's a beautiful girl, but not very career dressed.
My legs cannot carry me away fast enough. Most definitely run.
I would run.
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 Lust.
Run.
I got one lust.
I know, you got lust. And also, I feel like I don't know whether those people were informed that you are in the circus, right? But to tell me that you are now wanting to explore the psychology side of your education, I mean, that's where what any of those people had to say, I think, strikes a chord.
Right. I want people to be comfortable coming and talking to me without thinking that they're going to get their fortune read or something like that.
Right, exactly. So you could be like, I studied psychology, but I do read tea leaves. So you know how we do this, right? I mean, we get into a rut, and then, you know, you got to get out of the rut.
Right.
And the way I get everybody out of the rut is by having you strip. Let's take the artifice that you have clearly been controlling away. And then we're going to start from there, when all the makeup and all the jewelry and all the clothing is off.
Okay.
Go do it, sister. I want her not to think that her performative self has to be her true self. I think there's a lot more to her. She doesn't need a spotlight. What she needs is to feel the sunlight.
I feel very vulnerable.
I mean, do you think that that comes from the bullying that you had as a kid?
It was just like my whole world. All right. Okay. This is the biggest part. My makeup. I don't feel special. I feel very plain, pretty naked.
How you feeling, darling?
Terribly vulnerable.
Oh, wow, that was kind of a sad face
Drastic.
you made.
Just kind of feel like nothing.
You feel like nothing?
A little bit.
Because you're not wearing makeup?
That was like my favorite thing to do. It was like, you know.
Why was it your favorite thing to do?
Is it made me feel pretty?
Why didn't you feel pretty to begin with?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think that that comes from the kind of bullying that you had as a kid?
Yeah. Yeah, I tried really hard. And No matter what I did, it didn't really make a difference. No one really told me I was beautiful or anything. I was just always kind of the ugly duckling.
Just for the record, I mean, who bullied you and why?
It was a whole group of people. It became like the cool thing to do to hate me. And they had a whole MySpace page, all anti-Savannah group, and it was like 80 members strong. They used to follow me around in the hallways. They memorized my schedule so they could yell at me and throw notes at me and things like that. And it was just like my whole world. It was when I was in school, it was when I was home, and
I'm so sorry, I can't listen to any more of that. Okay, that's horrific. Okay, so this comes from a super deep place, but it also explains to me why you want to help other people. Yeah. But you want to do that from a place of authenticity.
Right.
You can't do that from a place of being scarred.
Yeah.
So we have some work to do. We do. So trust me.
I trust you.
All right? I'm going to take good care of you.
I know you will.
All right, come on. Come with me. We're going to go shopping. Okay. And we're going to fix our makeup.
Cyclone Debbie bears down on the Queensland coast, growing in devastating power. The town of Bowen now right in its path and bracing for a direct hit. A young woman killed trying to escape the superstorm. Thousands forced to evacuate homes as the hardy few hunker down, refusing to leave. And Gary Youngbury, Queensland's most trusted weatherman, with breaking news on the storm's path.
This is 9 News Queensland.
Good evening from Ayr in North Queensland, where Cyclone Debbie is barrelling towards our coast. Our state's biggest mass evacuation is underway right now to unfolds. Darren Curtis begins our special coverage.
The first cloudburst of Cyclone Debbie shows she is going to be brutal. The dire prediction tonight is for the kind of devastating impact we've not seen since Yazi. The fear is lives could be lost. And police have done everything they can to convince residents in the danger zones to pack up and get out.
Once someone's life's lost, we can't bring them back.
5,000 people have been directed to relocate from suburbs predicted to be devastated by wind or fast-flowing floodwater.
When the winds pick up, we will not be out there. And invariably what happens, people will try and call us through that period of time and we cannot respond.
Debbie is growing rapidly. Still hundreds of kilometres off the coast, the system is a Category 3. By the time
It was a boss, essentially. That's how I picture it anyways. Everyone says there's going to be a lot of debris in the air, and so I just, picture the dog circling around in the air.
George is buying fuel. He thinks he'll be living in his car by tomorrow. His 60-year-old home near Ayr will break up in 200-kilometre-an-hour winds.
Yeah, we're in all sorts of trouble here.
Thousands of businesses have closed up, leaving their shops with only basic protection. John the baker says he'll keep producing bread for his little community until the power cuts out.
You certainly do worry, because nothing's been through one that strong yet.
The time to leave is over. Now all North Queensland can do is wait and hope.
Brittany Klein is in Mackay, where 25,000 people are evacuating. Britt, you're already starting to feel the force of the system there?
Well, Andrew, we can feel it, we can see it, and you can probably even hear it as these wind gusts are really starting to pick up now. The biggest concern here is the tidal surge that is coming in, and that is why that emergency alert was issued late this afternoon. We're seeing last-minute evacuations right up the Queensland coast. But the message is, if you need to get out, you need to get out now, but if you're heading on the road, please be careful, as this storm has already claimed a life. Kilometres an hour.
The closer it gets, the more wild and woolly it's going to become.
By afternoon, the heart of this tourist centre was anything but.
There's no hire cars, there's no flights, there's no more accommodation.
Operators have done what they can to brace for the storm, but have no idea if it'll make a difference.
Everyone's pulling together as a team. It's just what we do here.
In Ellie Beach, Brittany Klein, 9 News.
Darren Curtis is in Bowen, directly in the cyclone's path. We're already feeling the wind here, Darren. What's it like there?
Yes, it's very unpredictable here at the moment, Andrew. We've had rain showers that have been sideways blowing you over. Now we're getting very strong gusts. We've got this little wind meter here at the moment. It's showing it's just under 30 kilometres an hour now. It's been alternating up to very close towards 40. Now tomorrow morning it's expected to be around 240 when the cyclone does cross the coast. Now that means those trees behind me there will probably all be stripped.
And you will move?
Yeah, go to a friend's place, yeah.
I'm scared.
Safest place to be is outside the Whitsunday region at this present point in time.
Precious cargo packed, ready to get out of the path.
I'll head to a friend's house, which is in a safe area.
The owners of this caravan park right on the water have chosen to stay and ride out the storm. Police read them a declaration and they had to accept responsibility for their own safety in order to stay.
We'll be right.
They're not alone in staying put.
It's only the people that don't come from Bowen, they'll all be panicking.
The cyclone shelter of Bowen State High School opened its doors for those who had nowhere else to go. It's BYO food. They'll be in lockdown until the threat has passed.
Our house wasn't stable enough for us to stay there.
The fear is shared by thousands with older homes that may not be strong enough to withstand the storm.
We're just a little bit concerned about their makeup and whether they'll survive or not.
800 people, there are about 158 people there right at the moment. Andrew?
Tessa, thank you. Well, Phil Wilmington is in air. Phil, you've been through plenty of cyclones. Do you think the people here are ready?
I think in the main, Andrew, they are. For example, this specially built facility here at the showgrounds for people's protection. There's 70 or so people have come in here this afternoon. They're expecting probably more to come as the evening progresses. Pretty much the same all the way up and down the coast. For example, just south of Townsville this morning, people from low-lying areas were being evacuated. And in the city of Townsville itself, people preparing for the worst but hoping for the best. Here's how the day unfolded across the north up here. On the eve of Cyclone Debbie's arrival, it was moving day.
We've just been told to go into town or go to Cairns.
Police Commissioner Ian Stewart joins us live now from the state's emergency headquarters. Commissioner, thanks for your time tonight. What do the people in North Queensland need to know right now?
Thanks, Andrew. Yes, they need to be alert to all of the messaging that's coming from authorities. They need to be watching the bomb site to track the cyclone. They need to be listening to
tomorrow morning. But it's been one of the wettest areas, the heaviest rain extending from here down through to Mackay and rain all the way down to Rocky. And Andrew should start to see some rain in air in the next hour or so. There is a lot more to come. Today, 50 to 100 millimetres. But from this, Andrew, we could see 500 millimetres from this storm eventually. But I'll have the latest tracking map. It's about to come through any moment in our full weather app.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Well, we're feeling the breeze stiffen already, some strong gusts coming through here. Well, the cyclone intensity is expected to create a huge tidal surge along some parts of the coast. Coastal expert Luke Bradnam is in Townsville. Luke, what are some of these communities in for?
Well, Andrew, I spoke to a senior forecaster here in Townsville today. He said the threat of a storm surge is not so much for us here in Townsville. We just heard from Gary, they're feeling the effects down there in Airlie Beach at the moment. Here in Townsville, you can see it's actually really beautiful conditions right now. We're going to start to feel the effects later tonight. The real threat of the storm surge is for communities between Lucinda and Mackay. And there is the potential that the storm surge could bring more destruction than the actual powerful winds from the cyclone. We saw with Cyclone Yahtzee a storm surge of 7.5 metres, and that decimated parts of Tully as well as Cardwell. Good news for tomorrow, we're not expecting a storm surge that high, but it still will be 4 metres, and that is enough to bring a lot of damage to those low-lying areas in those communities, particularly if the cyclone crosses the coast.